my dear friends. Very good morning, all of you. Today I am here to present our presentation under the code of gender and politics. Our topic is gender issues and gender identity. Under this topic, I would like to discuss about what is gender issues and gender identity, key gender issues, gender-based violence, gender-based human rights, and then gender-based discrimination. So, first of all, we will move on discuss about what is gender issues and gender identity. In contemporary discussion on human rights, equality, and societal development, the concept of gender issues and gender identity plays an important role. These terms are not only central to the discourse surrounding social justice, but they also impact policymaking, education, healthcare, and interpersonal relationships. Gender identity refers to an individual's deeply held sense of their own gender, which may be male, female, a blend of both, neither, or another gender altogether. This internal experience of gender may or may not align with the sex assigned to a person at birth. While many people identify with the gender that corresponds with their biological sex, commonly referred to as being cisgender, others may identify as transgender, non-binary, genderqueer, or otherwise outside traditional gender norms. It is important to distinguish gender identity from related concepts such as gender expression and sexual orientation. Gender identity is a core aspect of a person's self-conception and can manifest at a very early age. Respecting individuals' gender identities is essential for their mental, emotional, and social well-being. Gender issues refers to the social problems, disparities, and inequalities that arise from the different roles and expectations assigned to individuals based on their gender. These issues are deeply rooted in historical, cultural, and institutional practices that often privilege on gender over another. Most commonly, the privileging of men over women and gender-diverse individuals. Gender issues affect all genders, but they disproportionately impact women and gender minorities. Efforts to address these challenges often fall under the umbrella of gender equality and aim to dismantle structural barriers, challenge stereotypes, and promote inclusive practice across all sectors of society. Gender identity and gender issues are closely interlinked. When society fails to acknowledge diverse gender identities, it contributes to a range of social and psychological issues, including stigma, discrimination, and marginalization. For instance, transgender and non-binary individuals often face systematic barriers in accessing healthcare, legal recognition, and employment opportunities, leading to heightened vulnerability and social exclusion. Promoting awareness and understanding of gender identity is a critical component in addressing broader gender issues. Inclusive education, progressive policies, and supportive social environments are essential to fostering equality and respect for all individuals regardless of their gender identity. In conclusion, gender identity and gender issues are fundamental aspects of modern social discourse. Understanding and addressing this concept is essential for building inclusive, equitable, and just societies. By recognizing the diversity of gender identities and actively confronting gender-based disparities, we take important steps toward ensuring dignity and equality for all individuals.
Thank you, Vasantani. I have believed that now you get the clear-cut idea of what is gender issues and gender identity. Therefore, next I am going to talk about the key gender issues. Gender issues include all aspects and concerns related to women's and men's life and situation in society. To the way they interrelated their differences in access to and use of resources, their activities and how they react to changes, intervention and policies. Key gender issues include gender violence, inequality in the workforce, and the persistence of harmful stereotypes and discrimination. These issues impact women's and girls' access to education, healthcare, and equal participation in decision making, among other areas. First, we move to the gender violence. This gender violence encompasses physical, sexual, and psychological harm inflicted on individuals based on their gender. including domestic violence, sexual assault, and harassment. Gender based violence is a persistent issue impacting the entire world. According to the World Health Organization, 30% of women will be subjected by physical and sexual violence in their lifetimes. 38% of murdered women are killed by their intimate partners. Crises like the COVID 19 pandemic and war increase this gender based violence. The second key issue is inequality in the workforce. This includes the gender pay gap, unequal opportunities for advancement, and the disproportionate burden of unpaid care work, hindering women's economic empowerment. Globally, the World Bank estimates that about 2.4 billion women of working age don't get equal economic opportunities compared to men, as well as the amount of unpaid labor put on women is a big reason why. But many countries are not paying women as much as men. The World Bank also found that just 95 of the surveyed 190s economies mandate equal pay for equal work for men and women. Then next, the world has made significant progress in ensuring education access. Globally, girls have either closed or reserved gaps in assessing and completing education. Certain areas are still far behind, and there is still gender inequality among adults. Adult women are more likely to be ill treated compared to men. For example, in sub Saharan Africa, more than 1 in 4 young women can't read. Okay. Another key issue is the access to quality healthcare, including reproductive health services, is crucial for women's well-being, and disparities in access can lead to health risks. Mental health and mental illness are complex, but there do seem to be differences when it comes to gender. Women are more likely to report depression and anxiety, although men could be hiding their mental health struggles due to societal bias about masculinity. Women are more likely to attempt suicide, while men are 4 times more likely to successfully end their own lives. Although women's voice and perspectives are often underrepresented in political and economic decision making process towards gender identity and sustainable development. However, men hold most of the world's power. According to the United Nations Women's data from September 2022, there were 28 countries where 30 women served as heads of the state or government. At this rate, it will take another 130 years to reach gender identity in the highest position of power. Finally, another key issue is the human trafficking. This is affect all genders but not in the same ways. Women and girls made up 60% of all victims in 2020. They are also 3 times more likely to experience extreme violence. Gender norms about masculinity and exploitation play a role in identification. Many men don't call themselves human trafficking victims when dealing with human trafficking. It is important to understand the gender dynamics.
So I am talking about GBV. What is the meaning of GBV? GBV is the gender-based violence. So every minute somewhere in the world someone experiences gender-based violence. Gender-based violence or GBV refers to harmful acts directed at individuals based on their gender. It's rooted in power imbalances, inequality, and discrimination, and it affects people across every culture, society, and backgrounds. Gender based violence is not just a personal issue, it's a public health crisis, a human rights violation, and a barrier to equality. It includes physical, sexual, emotional, and economic abuse, and it disproportionately affects women and girls around the world. So, types of gender-based violences. Gender-based violences comes in many forms. Physical violences such as hitting, slapping, or beating is one of the most visible. Sexual violence includes rape, harassment, and exploitation. So next one, emotional or psychological abuse may involve threats, intimidation, isolation, or humiliation. Economic abuse occurs when someone controls a person's access to financial resources, making them dependent. In some cultures, harmful traditional practices like child marriage or female genital mutilation are also forms of gender based violence. Though women and girls are disproportionately affected, men and boys as well as LGBTQ individuals can also be victims. So the causes and contributing factors. So what causes gender-based violences? At its core, gender-based violence stems from unequal power relations between genders. Many societies are shaped by patriarchal system that place men in positions of dominance. Cultural norms may silence survivors or justify violence. In some communities, talking about abuse is taboo. Victims are blamed, while uh, per- perpetrators go unpunished. Factors like poverty, lack of education, conflict situation, and weak legal systems can all contribute. And online spaces have introduced new forms of gender based violence, including cyber stalking, revenge porn, and digital harassment. Consequences of gender based violence. The consequences of gender based violence are devastating and far reaching. Survivors often face physical injuries, chronic health issues, and mental trauma such as anxiety, depression, or some else harassment. Many are forced to leave school or lose their jobs, uh, planning them into economic hardship. Families are broken, and entire communities can be destabilized. Beyond their personal impact, gender based violence hinders development, weakness, economies, and perpetuates cycles of poverty and inequality. Most importantly, it violates a person's fundamental right to live free from violence. Solution and prevention. Gender based violence is preventable. Education is one of the most powerful tools. We must teach respect, consent, and equality from a young age. Governments must enforce laws that protect survivors and punish offenders. Communities must challenge harmful norms, support survivors, and hold perpetrators accountable. Access to counseling, shelters, and hotlines can be life saving. And men must be part of the solution by becoming allies, challenging sexism, and modeling healthy behavior. Ending gender based violence is not just about women's safety, it's about human dignity. So, gender based violence must end because it is a violation of human rights and a major barrier to achieving equality, safety, and dignity for all people. It inflicts deep physical, emotional, and psychological harm on individuals, disrupts families, and weakens communities. No one should live in fear simply because of their gender. Ending gender based violence requires a collective effort from governments enforcing strong laws to communities challenging harmful norms to individuals standing up against abuse. When we speak out, support survivors, and educate others, we move closer to world where everyone can live free from violence and discrimination. Thank you.
Now let's talk about human rights of women. Human rights are universal, but historically, women's rights has been deteriorated in comparison to the human rights of men. And as examples, sexual violence in Sierra Leone, and trafficking and prostitution in Thailand, and domestic violence in Pakistan, Nigeria are some of these examples. Now let's talk about CEDAW. CEDAW stands for the Convention of Eliminating All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. CEDAW is being adopted by UN General Assembly at the year 1979, and it is in force since 1981. So even though there are 193 countries who are members of UNO, out of them only 189 countries has ratified CEDAW. USA and Palau are the countries who have not ratified CEDAW yet. Well, CEDAW take care of women's right in voting, in being part of politics, rights of work, rights of economy, rights of their social life, rights of legal equality and equality in marriage. So it has a wide range of support that has been provided for the women, and we should be happy that Sri Lanka has also ratified this. And once a state is obligated to CEDAW, they have to provide a report of progress once in every 4 years. Now let's talk about the human rights situation of women in Sri Lanka. So it is obvious that out of the whole population, 52.2% of them are women. When it comes to the literacy rates, Sri Lankan women stands high as it marks a literacy rate of 91.76, so which is actually quite better than most of the other South Asian states. We received universal franchise in the year 1931, and we produced the world's first Prime Minister, Prime Minister Sirimavo Bandaranaike in the year 1961. Yet, there's only 9.8 representation of women in Sri Lankan National Legislative Body, which is the Parliament, in the year 2024. And even below 5% of women representation can be seen in provincial councils. So even though we have Women and Child Care Bureau, which has been established in the 1978, and we have a penal code in 1995, and Women's Charter in 1933, and we have an act which is the Prevention of Domestic Violence, established in the year 2005. Still, some of the human rights, women's rights, are being violated. So it is obvious that even though we have a great legal institutional system to protect women's rights, most of the times women are being discriminated not just by the law but by the informal settings of the society, just like family, friends, and through peers. So in my point of view, it doesn't matter how much of institutional support women have, if a country is not culturally establishing a background that protects women's right, it would not be fruitful.
In here, I want to talk about a reality that is everywhere in our homes, our workplaces, our schools, yet often goes unnoticed gender based discrimination. It starts early. A girl told she's too bossy. When she leads, a boy told he must not cry because boys don't show weakness. A woman doubted for her abilities, a man mocked for choosing to be a stay at home father. These small cuts add up to a world where gender decides opportunity, where dreams are filtered through unfair expectations. Uh, and it doesn't stop at words, it shows in numbers. Women earn less than men for the same work. In some parts of the world, girls are still fighting just to go to school. Violence against women remains a global crisis. Violence violence are silenced, talents are wasted, lives are lost, all because of belief that one gender is worth more than another. Okay, then how long will we let this continue? Gender-based discrimination is not injustice; it's theft. It is steals potential from individuals. It steals progress from society. Every girl denied an education, every woman ignored at a table of leaders, every person told they don't fit. That's a loss we all share. But here's the truth, we can change this. Change doesn't start with governments, it doesn't start with the huge movements, it starts with us. In how we think, how we speak, how we act every day. It starts by challenging that joke that seem harmless, by monitoring a young woman chasing leadership, by making space for every voice at the table, not just the loudest or most familiar ones. And it starts by seeing gender not as a limit, but as a beautiful part of a person's identity, not something that defines their worth. The fight against gender discrimination is not about women against men, it's about humanity against injustice. It's about building a world where everyone, no matter their gender, can dream freely, live fully, and rise without fear. However, gender inequality exists, but we can take action to change it. Thank you so much.